World Cancer Day, the theme says, "Together we can challenge those in power." So we have so many those are in power, and it encompasses the global demand for leaders to prioritize and invest in cancer prevention. And on this note, we would like to invite Dr. Convener for today is Dr. Sneha Bhuyar, madam.
Welcome you, ma'am. Dr. Sneha Bhuyar. Not audible.
Sneha, not audible.
Hello.
Now,
We welcome you, ma'am. Dr. Sneha Bhuyar, ma'am, a NOGS chairperson, Medical Disorder Committee 2022-2024. Many achievements to her book, International MS Signature Award for Phenomenal Leadership, Dr. S.N. Malhotra Individual National Award for Outstanding Work in Rural Obstetrics, Dr. Duru
Thank you so much. I think we will not spend much time in this. Thank you. You can stop sharing and I just say a few words. You can stop sharing, Saiti. A very good evening, respected Madam Usha Saraiya, respected President FOGSI, Dr. Jaideep Chand, Secretary General FOGSI, Madam Madhuri Patel, of course, Dr. Priya Ganesh, the Oncology Chairperson FOGSI, and of course, our esteemed speakers, Madam Nirja Batla, Dr. Sarita Shamsundar, Dr. Lakshmi Shikhande, the immediate past chairperson of ICOG, the NOGS president, Dr. Sushma Deshmukh, and Dr. Pragati Khaladkar, the secretary. Thank you so much, in fact, for giving me this opportunity to convey this virtual program. And I congratulate all of you for having this program during this month of cancer awareness as we celebrate 4th February as the World Cancer Day. Thanks to both of you, in fact, suggesting this topic. As all of you, you felt that we are the saviors, and that is why we have taken women's cancers as the theme. And who else than Madam Usha Saraiya would be the right person to be the chief guest for this program. And of course, the team, all of you know the esteemed speakers. Not only the cancers, but even we are losing our women to the, the obstetric mishaps. And Dr. Jaideep Chand, the FOGSI president, and Madam Madhuri Patel, both of them being the hardcore obstetrician as well. Who else can be the better people to talk on this topic? And definitely, we are very eager to welcome and listen to all of you. So without much ado, I introduce Madam Usha Saraiya and go ahead with their listening to their precious words, I would say. And I just invite Madam Usha Saraiya, who is such an illustrious person, a past president of FOGSI. And what we know about Madam, apart from all this formal introduction, is Madam has been working very hard for cancer cervix awareness as well as screening. And even at this stage, at this age, I would say, Madam is actively rendering her services to the needy. And for that, also, Madam has received the Lifetime Achievement Award by AUGA in 2017 and Lifetime Achievement Award by FOGSI in January 2020. So may I invite you, Madam, for your precious words of guidance.
Sneha, can you just welcome, as a president, I will welcome to all.
Yeah, definitely. I'm so sorry. I think I forgot in the flow talking about Madam, I just forgot. So I just welcome all the esteemed faculties, and as a convener, I take this opportunity to introduce Dr. Sushma Deshmukh, who is the president of Nagpur FOGSI Society. And all of you know that she's so well known for her, hysteroscopy carnival, which she organizes every year, such a successful event. And we are so proud of you, Sushma. And definitely over to you for your welcome address. Thank you.
Thank you very much. A warm welcome and good evening to all on behalf of Nagpur Obstetrics Society for this wonderful and practical webinar organized by FOGSI NOGS on killers of women and save our women. We know that the women are the backbone of our society, and really we are honored to have our chief guests, Dr. Usha Saraiya and Dr. Parikshit as a chief guest. welcome. Then actually we welcome our guest of honors, Dr. Madhuri Patel, Secretary of General FOGSI, and Dr. Priya Ganesh Kumar, Chairperson FOGSI Oncology. So welcome. And I must appreciate our enthusiastic convener, Dr. Sneha Buyar, who is very much instrumental in organizing this webinar. And we know that we all wish her best luck for her next endeavor. So Sneha, best of luck for your next elections. And we are with you. We
Thank
knew
you.
that the main troublesome killer is the cancer cervix. And even the government has also looked into this matter. And so we need to understand about it thoroughly. So we'll be the perfect person to talk about it. So I welcome Dr. Neeraja Bhatla, who is the Vice President of FOGSI and Professor HOD of AIMS, Delhi. She is going to speak on cervical cancer, HPV vaccination, and revolution in the cervical cancer. Welcome, Dr. Neeraja Bhatla. For this session, we have three brilliant and dedicated chairpersons. Dr. Lakshmi Srikande, past chairperson of ICOG, Dr. Ujjwala Deshmukh, past president of NOGS, and Dr. Madhuri Gawande, consultant at RST Regional Cancer Center, Nagpur. So now, after this prevention and caring, we need to have some early detection and management. So our another speaker is going to speak on the this early detection stepwise management, and Dr. Sarita Kare, who is the chairperson of Oncology Committee. So welcome, Dr. Sarita Kare. To chair this important session, we again having three dashing, courageous faculties from our NOGS. Dr. Smita Devade, past president of NOGS, Dr. Alka Mukherjee, past president of NOGS, and Dr. Tanushree Jain, senior consultant of National Cancer Institute. Welcome to chairpersons. Now, another troublesome killer woman is cancer breast. And we are having brilliant speaker for this session, Dr. Sneha Buyar. She is the AMOC chairperson of Emergency Obstetric Committee recently, and also the past FOGSI chairperson of Breast Committee. Welcome, Dr. Sneha Buyar. And for this session, we have amazing academicians, Dr. Alka Kumar, President Narchi, and Dr. Rujita Fuke, Associate Professor GMC, Prachi Dikshit, Associate Professor NKP Sare. So welcome to all chairpersons. And this program is shouldered by our very young and talented energies, this MOCs, Dr. Mugdha Zungari, who is consultant at Purple Woman Healthcare Clinic, and Dr. Aishwarya Khadkar, who is a consultant OBGYN. So just today, as this is the cancer month is there, today February, just take a solemn oath to save the woman from these killers. So you must listen this semi carefully. This is very important semi. So again, I welcome you all. Thank you very much. Again, okay.
Yeah, I think the MOCs can take the program.
MOCs, you can carry out the program.
Saraya, madam, you want to speak?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah, definitely.
Sure.
Yes.
I'm always happy to be associated with NOGS. I have known them for many years and I participated in many of them several times. So I've had the pleasure of meeting them. And certainly it's a very special occasion to have a FOGSI NOGS seminar on this very important topic. And there are so many people all over the world working on this same subject and trying to bring about elimination of cervical cancer by the year 2030. And I must say that FOGSI and India in general is doing very well on that count. So today we have so many experts on the field to speak today, and I'm very happy to note that you are covering all the primary factors, the secondary prevention methods, the third tertiary methods of control, and we have the backing of FOGSI and all the societies. And I must congratulate Dr. Jaideep Tank and Dr. Madhuri Patel for giving a tremendous boost to this program currently, because as such in the last 2 years we have taken training on this subject to most of the 2/3 societies in India. And in this tenure of Dr. Priya, Dr. Madhuri and Dr. Jaideep, I think we will be covering 100% of the societies. And in each society, we'll have people who are trained to take up screening, vaccination, and treatment, which is a tremendous achievement. Because I know in so many of the countries in Southeast Asia, in Africa, they are struggling with how to have the basic facilities, how to arrange for the basic facilities to start the program. And here we are fully organized with all the societies which reach the various parts of India. So thank you so much for your support from FOGSI, and I'm really look forward to this year to see how much more we can achieve. As for the speakers, they are really the best speakers we have on the subjects. Dr. Nirja Matla is going to speak to us on vaccines, which, as you know, is our best armamentarium for the control of cervical cancer. And this is a very special year because Nirja is our vice president, and she is supported by the vaccines production in India, and they have already launched it, and even government has openly said that they are for it and they're going to promote it. So great guns, I feel. I mean, all these things coming together in this year is going to make a difference. And we look forward to your talk, Nirja, and at best of times, it's always nice to listen to you, no matter what subject you speak on. And this, of course, is one of your favorite subjects. Now, the second topic is going to be on treatment. That's also very important because we've had high mortality, and United Nations has said that we must bring down the mortality by 30%. And we have laid out a formula of how we are going to do it. And the treatment modalities have improved so much in the last few years. You know, the therapeutic vaccine has made its presence felt. And in 2020, the same Curie Institute, which was formed by Marie Curie 100 years ago, and she gave radium to the treatment of cervical cancer. That same institute research workers have given the therapeutic HPV vaccine. So really, I look forward to Dr. Kale's talk on the treatment of cervical cancer, and it is going to give not only hope to all of us, but just imagine that the hope of all the relatives of cancer cervix patients will get when they know that treatment is going to give their loved one a longer life and a better life. And of course, the other factor, which is of screening, you know, it is very important to change our screening patterns depending on the needs of the patient and needs of our community. And today, we realize that just doing one cervical cancer screening for a patient is not quite adequate, because 40% increase is there in breast cancer. So if you're going to offer screening to our women, we must include breast and cervical together. I know the age factor is there, age patterns are not the same, but awareness can be created. Self-examination of breast can be introduced. And generally, every patient who comes for cervical cancer should also be made aware of the need for breast cancer screening. In fact, government has suggested we do it with NCD and also test for BP, also test for urine sugar, obesity, everything. Now, we have tried, we have very, you can say, enthusiastically tried, but it makes our camp work very unwieldy. And we're not able to put all these things together. Patients are tired, staff is tired, and nobody can do it properly. So I think we need to have a second look at the scheme of putting too many things together. So I don't want to say too much. These are just few of my stray thoughts on these modalities and treatment and sort of factors which will bring down the mortality of cervical cancer. I would like to give time to our speakers. They're all brilliant people with lots of experience. And let us get on with the whole detailed program now. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. You are an inspiration.
Thank you.
And it was my privilege to work and witness your work at Kama Hospital, Mumbai. Even I had that privilege to work with Dr. Madhuri Patel too. And moving on to next, Dr. Jaideep Tang, sir. He's President FOGSI. Sir, would you like to say a few words?
Yes, sure.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Mukta and Dr. Aishwarya, who are doing the MOC together and despite being a webinar are still together. So that's welcome. Let me begin by congratulating the Nagpur Society and the FOGSI Oncology Committee along with the convener, Dr. Sneha Buyar, for putting this program together. Congratulations, Dr. Sushma Deshmukh, the President of NOGS, and Dr. Pragati, the Secretary. I've always felt that Nagpur is my home society. I have never felt that I'm, a guest in the Nagpur Society, and I'm always very happy to be a part of any programs which the society holds. Let me acknowledge Dr. Madhuri Patel, the Secretary General of Nirja, who is a speaker as well as the Vice President of FOGSI for the current year, and of course Priya, who is the Chairperson of the Oncology Committee. A whole generation of FOGSians has grown up hearing Dr. Usha Saraya speaking on prevention, screening, and treatment of cancers, but particularly cervical cancer with her colposcopy trainings and pap smear educations and so on and so forth. Madam, it's always a pleasure and a privilege to listen to you. Thank you very much for your words of wisdom. And of course, you have Sarita and Sneha as the other speakers and such eminent chairpersons, Dr. Lakshmi Shikhande, Dr. Deshmukh, Dr. Madhuri, Dr. Smita, Dr. Alka, Dr. Tanushri, Dr. Alka Kumar, Dr. Rujuta, and Dr. Prachi. So thank you very much, NOGS, for putting this very important program together, which essentially focuses on the cancers, which are actually the most prevalent and cause the largest amount of morbidity and mortality from all the cancers for women. I wish everyone happy learning, and I hope that this webinar will be useful for everybody who attends it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. So moving ahead, we welcome our guest of honor for today, Dr. Madhuri Patel, Secretary General FOGSI, and Dr. Priya Ganesh Kumar, Chairperson.
Aishwarya, voice.
Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Yes. So I welcome the guest of honors for today, Dr. Madhuri Patel, ma'am, and Dr. Priya Ganesh Kumar, ma'am, Chairperson, FOGSI Oncology Society. Ma'am, I would like, please request you to say a few words.
Thank you. Can you remove my slide? Yeah. Respected my madam, Dr. Usha Saraya. She is my mentor. She is my guide, during the PG, and then she has guided me throughout with my sir, Dr. C.N. Purandare. And, I must say, madam has spent all her life. Last 50 years, she has started a dysplasia clinic in Kama Hospital, and Mugdha has rightly said that we all are beneficiary, and there are thousands of people have been trained by madam. Madam conducts once in a year colposcopy and cytology, a training program, and so many of us have benefited. Of course, we were the Kama student, madam students, so we were all the beneficiary, but there are so many people have benefited. And I remember we had done so many camps with madam, and we have presented also so many papers for that. So I really salute madam for devoting her life for elimination of cervical cancer. Madam has always said preventable but not prevented. But now I can see in your future, madam will definitely prevent the cervical cancer. And as far as Jaideep is concerned, I am following his footsteps. He has been my Secretary General right from, treasurer. I was joint treasurer. Then he was one step ahead of me, and I have learned so many nitty-gritty from the administration of the as a Secretary General. And I'm very, very happy to share that Jaydev is also one of the person, whatever work I'm doing today, because of him. And he has always guided for each and everything whenever I found difficulties along with CN sir. As far as convener Dr. Sneha is concerned, very sincere, very dedicated person, and I wish you all the best. And of course, our Nagpur Society, Dr. Sushma, President, and Dr. Pragati as a secretary. And I can see all the people in Nagpur, Alka, and all. This is Lakshmi, and this is also, I consider as my home place. I have been coming so many times. I have come to Nagpur, and I am very happy to join this webinar because the Nagpur is very vibrant society with all of you around, and my student Dr. Sandeep, who is going to take next takeover as a president. So Alka time also I had come, Lakshmi time, and every time I have been visiting Nagpur, and I feel very happy because my madam Dr. Deshmukh is also from there. So every time I get a chance to visit even my madam Dr. Deshmukh. Then we have Dr. Nirja, then Dr. Lakshmi, Dr. Ujjwala, Dr. Madhuri, Dr. Sarita, Dr. Smita, Dr. Tanushri, Dr. Alka Kumar, Dr. Rutuja, Dr. Prachi, and MOC Dr. Mugdha and Aishwarya. And of course, Nirja is our vice president. She's excellent in all this, method, cervical cancer. She's really expert in, she's a great academician, but she has also done lots of work in cervical cancer from the AIMS as well as, from AOGN, Nirja. And plus when she was a FIGO committee chair, she has really put on, she was a benchmark for that committee, and Dr. C.N. Purandare always appreciate that how much work she has done. And now as a committee chair of FOGSI as well as a vice president, she is doing excellent work. And I would like to say about Nisha that she had arranged with the government official the meeting for the HPV vaccination to be included in the national immunization program. And Madam Saraya, Dr. C.N. Purandare, Dr. Shanta, myself, Nirja, Sarita, all were there, and we could convince the officers that why it is needed HPV vaccine. And as Madam has rightly said, they have announced that it will be very soon in the national immunization program. So we are really happy. We all are working, 43,000 people, working members are working for women's health. And we can see in your future the dream will come true for the cervical cancer Mukta Bharat. And I have been always quoting 30, 60, 90. But even though we have reduced our maternal mortality rate, but 60,000 women are dying because of the cervical cancer, and 90,000 women are dying because of the breast cancer per year in India. So we have to do something. So last year in our FOGSI mission, we have added another FOGSI mission is preventive oncology and cervical cancer Mukta Bharat, elimination of the cervical cancer. So this is also we are included in our mission. Then of course, Vezen Madam has pointed out that we are training our HPV vaccination to our gynecologists, where we have already trained about 5,600 gynecologists, and Madam said we are going to reach out to all the societies very soon. So sensitization and awareness are very, very important part for not only for us as a member, but also to the community, because our members are only going to spread this, awareness, sensitization to our community, and they are going to come forward for the elimination of cervical cancer. So I'm not going to take much time about this, but I congratulate Sneha and Nagpur team along with FOGSI team for the most apt webinar, and I wish them best for the future endeavor. Thank you once again for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you so much, madam.
Thank you.
I request, can we move further? So I request Dr. Priya Ganesh ma'am to say her few words of wisdom. Ma'am,
Has she joined? I'm not sure. I think we could not see her.
yeah, okay.
So, ma'am, shall we
So,
proceed with?
we proceed?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So, as ma'am is yet to join, we proceed, and I request Dr. Pragati Khalatkar, Secretary NOGS, to say her vote of thanks.
Ma'am, you are muted.
Ma'am, you're muted.
Please unmute. Unmute.
Unmute.
Thank you so much. Respected dignitaries of the dais, our chief guest, Dr. Usha Saraiya ma'am, past president, Dr. Jaideep Chand, Dr. Badhuri Patel madam, Dr. Priya Ganeshan, who couldn't join, Dr. Sneha Bhoyer, today's speaker, Dr. Nirja Bhatla, Dr. Sarita Shyam Sundar, and Dr. Sneha Bhoyer. Really, I am grateful that you all have joined in today's journey of FOGSI and NOGS journey, which is very important for all of us. And we are looking forward on a very interesting CME, which is Save the Women, an initiative which was taken by our beloved Dr. Sneha Bhoyer, who is convener for this program. So I'm thankful to all of you for coming for today's program, sparing time and accepting our invitation at one go. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Usha Saraiya ma'am, Dr. Jaideep Chand. Thank you, Dr. Madhuri Patel. Thank you, Dr. Priya Ganeshan. I should thank today's esteemed speaker, Dr. Nirja Madam. We are just eager to hear your words. And I want to finish my vote of thanks in just a minute. I want to thank Dr. Sarita Shyamsundar for her talk and Dr. Sneha Bhoyer, who will be covering on the screening tools for early detection of breast cancer. Today's chairperson, all chairpersons from NOGS, that is our Nagpur body, Dr. Rashmi Shikhande, Face of Nagpur, Dr. Ujjwala Deshmukh, who didn't make today, Dr. Madhuri Gavande, who is working for Cancer Hospital, Dr. Smita Deore, our old Dr. Alka Kumar, the charming friend of mine, Dr. Tanushri Jain, Dr. Alka Kumar again, Dr. Alka Mukherjee, Dr. Rujita Pukhe, Dr. Prachi Dikshit for consenting to be chairpersons for today's program. Today's MOC, Dr. Mugdha Jungri and Dr. Aishwarya Kharatkar, thank you so much for conducting the programs. I should thank Team Shield Connect for organizing this program flawlessly. Thank you so much. Last but not the least, all the delegates who are logged in. I will just want to conclude by saying, as we have all read, prevention is better than cure. Prevention is better than cure. We will win over the cancer for sure. With lots of efforts, as FOGSI NOGS has reached great altitude, I, Dr. Pragati Kharatkar, pays my heartfelt gratitudes. Thank you so much. And I invite MOCs for further proceedings.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Let's proceed with the first session for today. Shall we, ma'am? Dr. Sneha, ma'am?
Yes, please. Actually, already, yeah.
Yeah. So awareness today is a cure for tomorrow. And our topic for first session is cervical cancer, HPV vaccination, HPV vaccination revolution in the cervical cancer. For the chairpersons for this first session are Dr. Lakshmi Shrikhande, madam. She is immediate past chairperson ICOG, national corresponding editor for various journals, and national corresponding secretary for AMWI. She is president ISOPAP, chairperson for various educational committees. We welcome you, ma'am, for today's session. Next is Dr. Ujjwala Deshmukh, madam. She couldn't make it for today's session. And the third chairperson is Dr. Madhuri Gavande. Dr. Madhuri Gavande, madam, she is consultant gynec endoscopist and she is a gynec onco-surgeon at Gavande Clinic at Shraddhananpet, and she is also a consultant at Rashtrasant Tukdoji Cancer Hospital, Nagpur, and visiting consultant at American Onco. Let's start the session, ma'am. We are eager to hear you.
So just please show Dr. Nirja Bhatla's CV slide. Very good evening, everyone. It's always a pleasure to listen to the authority in this field, that is none other than Dr. Nirja Bhatla. And I'm so happy that Usha Saraiya madam's dreams are coming true, because madam is working towards cervical cancer programs, I think since last 40 years. And now we have something by which we can prevent cervical cancer And no doubt, HPV vaccine is the revolution towards prevention of cervical cancer. So to introduce Dr. Nirija Bhatla formally, she has just retired as a professor and head of the department of AIMS. She was the chairperson of oncology committee of FIGO, and she is the first woman doctor to grace this position. She is advisory group. She is the member of advisory group in various government bodies. She has path-breaking research with more than 500 publications, and she is very passionate about her work in HPV vaccine. As you can see that she is working to bring low-cost Indian HPV vaccine. I am sure she will highlight on how this revolution has occurred, that now we are having Indian HPV vaccines, and she is so passionate that personally she is doing screening programs, and she has treated and screened more than 50,000 women for cervical cancer. So Dr. Nirja, floor is all yours, and we are eager to listen from you about the HPV vaccine.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lakshmi. Thank you, Dr. Sushma, Dr. Pragati, for your very kind introductions, and also the kind words from Dr. Usha Saraiya and also from Dr. Madhuri Patel. And my dear friend Sneha also, who has brought me again to Nagpur. Last time it was RRR, this time it is CCC, Control Cervical Cancer. So I will definitely say that it has been very nice for me also, the experience of knowing Dr. Usha Saraiya and learning from her. I will consider her very much one of our teachers and inspiration, and a model that nobody can follow. The passion, the dedication, and so young at heart, and she looks also young all the time, and we have so much to learn from her. And I have used the preventable, not prevented slogan for years together as well, copying Madam. And I think it sort of inspired us that what we need to do and the direction we need to take, and constant encouragement. And indeed, it was a very great moment this time when the finance minister at least uttered in the parliament that there is going to be a push for the vaccination, which we are waiting for so long. And I will say that I am very lucky that I have been in a position that I could do something about it. And all of you give me so much credit of being the face, but it was not possible without the teamwork. And Dr. Madhuri already described the meetings we have had, the way FOGSI works together. I love being in FOGSI because of so much teamwork. And presently also our team with Dr. Jaideep and the other 4 vice presidents, we are such a homogeneous and nice team. It is so good. But that meeting, what Dr. Madhuri was remembering, I mean, just imagine at short notice, all the FOGSI bigwigs are taking a flight, coming to Delhi, meeting. You know, it shows the government what importance we are laying. And this is where each one of us matters, because health is a state subject. Each of us has the potential, and we are all influential. Gynecologists are always influential. So we have the possibility to influence the local policy makers, the local Rotary clubs, the other charities, and make a ripple effect that will make this faster and faster. Because already Dr. Madhuri said, what happens? You save the woman from the childbirth problems, the maternal mortality, but there is a risk that she will die of cervical cancer. There is a risk that she will die of breast cancer. In fact, today, I think it is unethical. We cannot screen for cervical cancer alone. We must screen for both. But a vaccine against cancer is truly a revolutionary idea. And this topic, of course, was given to me by Dr. Sneha, but it is revolution in cancer prevention, because it is such a fascinating thing. We have hepatitis B vaccine. This is the only other one where we have a vaccine to prevent a cancer. So going forward, I think everybody knows about the 90, 70, 90 numbers now. That has really caught the imagination. I think it's very fortunate that we got this with when Dr. Tedros chose it before the pandemic as his topic for his tenure, to eliminate cervical cancer, because after COVID, it may or may not have become. But having said that, the machinery, it's remarkable that in WHO, despite so much work on COVID, they could continue to work on this as well. And online meetings every week, guidelines, so many things happened, and so many groups for vaccination, for screening, for treatment, for quality assurance, so much went on. And the goal is not that there will be no cervical cancer like smallpox. No, it is that it will become a rare cancer. There will be less than 4 cases per 100,000. What we are in the realm of 18. So it will be much less. So it will be 1/4 of the problem, maybe what we see, but it will not have public health importance to the degree it has. And the targets are for 2030, that by then you show that your system can put this in place, that you can vaccinate the girls 90%, you can screen 70% with HPV test, and you can treat, because screening will not save lives. It is the treatment that is important. And all of us who have worked on screening know how complex it can be. There are so many tests, which tests to do. Positive doesn't mean that they have a cancer or even a CIN. So how to triage, where to send, where to treat, which way to treat, ablation, excision, etc. Compared to that, giving a shot of HPV vaccine, and we'll come to single, double and all that, is so much easier task. The mechanism is in place. Our EPI vaccine system is so good. We have the resources for cold chain management, storage. We have shown with COVID that we can go to the last mile and not have a problem in coverage. I think the day we start with that impetus, we will make up the backlog. We will make up the backlog. Because if you see the countries which have the HPV vaccine in the national program, firstly, the most disturbing thing is that the ones who have the best screening are also the ones who have the vaccine, because they have such a small gap. 93% of cancers can be prevented if we do a 3-yearly PAP or a 5-yearly HPV. To add to that, just for that 7%, they have even managed to put the vaccination in place. So we really need to think about it, because if we are to look in the proportion of the burden of disease, although it looks like a lot of countries have introduced, but they have such a small number compared to, you see, I don't know if you can see my pointer or not, which I'm using, or I can take this other one maybe.
We can see, ma'am. Yeah.
Good. So you have India and you have China, which have the main burden. And this self-financed is what we are looking to change by getting it into the national program. Although states can do it, Sikkim is doing it even now with their own funds. But once it becomes national program, the central government will pay for it and the states will get it free, and in phases it will roll out. That is the hope. So this is the summary of the globally available WHO pre-qualified vaccines. So we had Cervarix in India and we had Gardasil, and now we got Gardasil 9 also, which actually added 5 other types. And we had, of course, as the types change, the doses change. You can see that in Gardasil 9, they have put more dose of HPV 6, more dose of HPV 16, because once there are many more, then there is a competition and it takes some time for them to work out these doses. Now, if you look at these vaccines which are WHO pre-qualified, they have all been approved for the 2-dose schedule as well. And we will come to later how they have also got now. This is the label. The off-label is there already for the single dose for these. What do we have in India? In India, the earliest one to come was the Gardasil 4, and then came the bivalent Cervarix. The HPV high-risk types were same for both of these. And then it took almost a decade when we got the nonavalent vaccine. Now, the only biggest drawback of the nonavalent vaccine to my mind right now is it does not contain one which it should have here, which is 35. This is quite a common type, even in India, even in Africa. And in fact, hopefully, this will be corrected going forward into a decavalent vaccine, and it will be more comprehensive. And the biggest achievement now has been the advent of the Indian HPV vaccine by Serum Institute of India Limited in 2022, launched 1 year ago in 2023. And this is how it came. So This is the published trial, which many of us have been part of, a multi-center trial in the country. It has looked at girls and boys aged 9 to 14 years versus the girls and the women aged 15 to 26 years. In fact, it has also looked at the 15 to 26-year age group, girls and boys, but that publication has not yet come because this is what we call the primary target group. And this vaccine, which has 4 types, 611, 16, 18, has been compared with the Gardasil 4, and it has been found to be non-inferior. In everything, it is non-inferior. In price, it is superior. So this was the comment which came in the same copy of the journal from very esteemed John Schiller and Amy Kramer, who said, an HPV vaccine from India, broadening possibilities for cervical cancer control, meaning globally, make in India vaccine once we are able to fulfill our own needs, once it will go out into other countries that need an affordable vaccine. So it will fulfill the criteria of affordability and accessibility and availability, which are the main hampering parts apart from the 4th A, which is awareness. And this is what I was saying about the non-availant vaccine. So the HPV 16, 18, which they took the global data, of course, there's a basis why they chose these 5 types over and above. So globally, these were the 5 next most common. But for us, 35 is also important. For Africa, also 35 is more important. So these are the various. And in India, what is the most interesting thing is that the 16-18 is more than global. Global, if it is 70%, in India, it is 84%, which is why even if we have taken the Gardasil 4 previously, some people ask this question that should we now take the non-availant? And my answer is no, you don't really need to, because even after non-availant, it's not 100%. You will still need screening. You will need to still see what is going on. So it is good enough if you have received the Gardasil 4. But of course, today, whoever it is affordable will naturally choose the 9. And when we talk of the target population and this thing, so if you see this position paper, which came in 2017, it clearly said that HPV vaccines should be included in the national program. It should be part of a comprehensive strategy. Means not only vaccine, you have to screen also, and you have to look at other diseases also. But the primary and secondary target groups were very clear. The first target is the girls aged 9 to 14 years prior to being sexually active. Then come the women, females more than 15 years, and even the males if feasible, affordable, and cost effective. And they were very clear that if we do the multiple age cohorts, maybe means we don't start only with 9-year-old or only with 10-year-old, but we take all those in 9 to 18 years like a catch up, it will be faster. And it will have a greater population impact because they do have a herd immunity effect also. And the herd immunity effect really swings in once you can get a 70% coverage. So why are we focused on this primary target, young girls? Because these vaccines are preventive. The immune response is higher in adolescents. And giving it before exposure will give the highest possible protocol efficacy. And with fewer doses, the cost of immunization is less. So this you can see how, regardless of the type, you have the ages here. And regardless of the type, the highest level is coming in the age group, which is the youngest. This is true for any vaccine. The most brisk response will come earlier. So brisker response, better antibody, and it covers the possibility of an unexpected exposure, which we hope, of course. But reality is these things can occur. So either way, this is the best time to do it. And it will give a more than 98% efficacy, even with the quadrivalent alone, for these girls, as well as even in the age group of 15 to 26 years if they are HPV naive. And it has also been shown to prevent the vulvar and vaginal precancers and of course the genital warts as well. Now the real world data has come. This is data from Sweden where they have followed up. They have, as you know, very good registries in these countries. So they have compared the vaccinated population less than 17 years here in green, at 17 to 30 years in blue, and the unvaccinated population. But they followed up girls who were enrolled in trials from the start. And they found that compared to the non-vaccinated, these ones at 17 years had 88% reduction in the invasive cervical cancers, but more than 17 years also was effective, giving a 53% reduction. And these sort of data further reinforce when we have these schedules now, the latest WHO position paper of 2022, which says you can give 1 or 2 doses for the primary target of girls aged 9 to 14, as well as even 15 to 20. And our own data from India, from our IARC trial, has largely informed these, apart from other data coming in. Only problem being that so far we did not have too many of the randomized trials giving it. Even in the women older than 21 years, only 2 doses with a 6-month interval. 3 doses is now only for the immunocompromised and those with HIV. So WHO is urging everyone introduce the vaccine for the primary target group at country level, 9 to 14 years. But that is the national program, government supported. Where feasible and affordable, and privately individuals taking catch up in older cohorts and missed girls through the multi-age cohort will definitely expedite our journey to elimination. And for those who like to know about the mechanisms at the basic level, the potential mechanisms of antibody-mediated inhibition infection have been shown to vary with the concentration of the antibody. So you have the neutralizing antibodies, which prevent the HPV from binding to the host cells at the inception. And this is seen particularly where there is not, with the high antibody levels, you will have the neutralizing, because this is the mechanism how it is entering and it is causing the disease. And here, if you have the neutralizing antibody, it is already coming from the circulation and it is binding the cells. But you have a whole host of non-neutralizing antibody functions also, the antibody-dependent phagocytosis, the neutrophil activation and degranulation, and the antibody-mediated clearance of infected cells by the cellular cytotoxicity. So it is a complicated thing which results in the end in a successful elimination, even with the lower dose. And we to date don't actually know what is the antibody correlate of protection, how much antibody is really needed. But the various studies have shown that even 1 dose will induce, this is for HPV 16, a 9.4-fold higher titer up to 48 months, a 4.8-fold titer higher for HPV 18 at 48 months than the natural infection. And we have this type of data from our own India IARC study also, which has shown that these patients have seroconverted well against, oops, sorry about that. I don't know where I got this from. Are you also seeing this panel? Or only I am seeing it?
Yes, we can see it.
So the antibody concentrations, let me just take this off. You know, this panel is come and stood here. So the antibody concentrations are lower amongst the girls who receive 1 dose, no doubt. But the frequency of infections is similar regarding to the number. This has been our experience from the trial, which we are following up since 2009. And no persistent HPV 16 or 18 infections in any 1, 2, 3 dose have been seen over the follow-up of 7 years. So this is highly encouraging. And this is also to show you the Costa Rica vaccine trial, which of course had only looked at the dropouts of the thing at the 1 and 2 dose, but they could see that there is persistent antibody. And now a whole lot of studies have been put together, which were not necessarily randomized trials, but they showed that for the bivalent vaccine, for the quadrivalent vaccine, there was merit to the single dose. And it laid the foundation for some randomized control trials. And you can see here that they're mostly coming out by this year or early next year, the results of many randomized trials as well as good observation trials like ours, which got converted, to show you that these are effective in a single dose. Kenshi has compared the HPV bivalent and nonavalent. The important ones here, ours was the quadrivalent. The Thailand impact study has compared the bivalent, and this HOPE study has even looked at the HIV population to see how it does. And in fact, real world data has also come from UK, which has analyzed the results of their bivalent vaccine national program. And with 13.7 million years of follow-up of women aged 20 to 30 years, they found very quick, faster than expected and better than expected. Already in 5 years, they could see 448 fewer cancers, 17,000 fewer CIN3. And this is important because it's not just the prevention of cancer, it's the prevention of CIN3, which we don't see so much right now because we don't screen everyone. But now that we are having women who are delaying childbearing, so many are coming from IVF clinics, from so many places, that they are having LEAP done. Then there's a psychological overlay, there's all that trauma. So to my mind, it is not even just measuring, but yes, if you look at this, see the estimated relative risk reduction, and you can see it is maximum when it is given to the 12 to 13 group compared to 14 to 16 or 16 to 18. The 87% reduction in CA, the 97% reduction in CIN3+, all this was with the bivalent vaccine program, and they concluded that the HPV immunization program has successfully almost eliminated cervical cancer. Again, I'll remind you, eliminated means less than 4 per 1,000 in those women who were born after September 1, 1995. I mean, what an achievement. And what has happened in UK subsequently, that they have gone to a one-dose schedule now in their routine HPV vaccination. The JCVI interim advice is started with 3 doses, and they took Cervarix first, then they took Gardasil, then in 2014 they changed it to 2 doses, and then now in 2020 they looked at the efficacy, and I'm very proud to say that amongst all the efficacy studies they looked at, even our IARC Indian trial was one of them which they looked at. So these, I won't go into the details of these. If anybody wants, they can just take a picture and study it later. But these, as I said, are the most important: Kenshi, Doris, our own IARC, and Costa Rica. And these have looked at the single dose of Gardasil 9 or Cervarix or Gardasil 4, and they have all been found to be very good. So it will make the finances better, the logistics of finding the woman better. And then in situations like pandemic and all, where do you go looking for the second one? So you can have an accelerated introduction, a better coverage, and a substantial reduction in the incidence of these diseases. And there are many countries which are doing the gender neutral. Now, in between, there was a time when WHO said paradoxically, there was a shortage of HPV vaccine because there was not enough production for the number of countries that wanted to do it. But now we are over that already because there were other vaccines introduced from China as well. The existing vaccines stepped up their capabilities. And like our Indian vaccine coming has changed the whole situation. So now we are very sure it's time to start vaccinating the boys as well for their own good, as well as for the impact they will have for the women. So once you do this, you can see this is modeling only, but this is how it shows you that if you had the status quo, you will go like that. But if you are able to do vaccination, look at the dramatic drop. This is the 10 per 1,000, 4 per 1,000 threshold. You do 1 lifetime screen, you shift it left. You do 2 lifetime screens with HPV, you shift it even further. So you can accelerate by a good 10 to 15 years. You can avert more than 45 million deaths. Each year that we have delayed introducing vaccination in Indian program accounts for at least 4 to 5,000 women more who have died, at least, if not more, because even with phased introduction, we would have saved so many of them. So this is how it goes. And of course, there are other cancers. We only talk about cervical because number 1, it is the most common. Number 2, it is 99% caused by HPV, the attributable fraction, what they say. But there are others also which are not as common, but 90% of anal. 75% of vaginal, 70% of vulvar, 70% of head and neck, 60% of penile, apart from the benign like the genital warts. So what are our challenges? The gynecologists sometimes say the screening is enough, it's coming down already, let the pediatricians do it. I find it very difficult. They don't listen. And why should I tell the sexually active? Parents say, no, my daughter's too young. I don't want to talk about this. She's not sexually active. Is it safe? Will it last? It's costly. It's not for me. So many things. Parental hesitancy, we have to address. It's one of the biggest problems. It's our turn as gynecologists, how effectively we can address this. So this huge female population, and FOGSI has already recommended for many years the catch-up vaccination. So we should see every opportunity, because we know how many problems she has, and patients trust the gynecologist. They will listen to your advice. They will ask you to clear their doubts. So make effective recommendations. Communication is the key. You need improved strategies, no doubt, especially when you are having it in your clinics or in general practice, but you have to address all their queries and concerns and find innovative ways to save your time while doing it. Either have the leaflets or have a counselor teach your staff how to talk to them if need be. Because we do have young girls, we have the PCOS, we have so many girls coming, the women, of course. So apart from the cervical cancer screening itself, or when they come for contraceptive counseling, postpartum visits, STI screening, preconceptional, even infertility, as I mentioned. So it should be part of our daily routine to counsel them, and documentation to reinforce. The counseling should be very precise, short, meaningful words, no science, few sentences, maximum 15 to 20 seconds. Make it emotional to strike a chord with the patient, make her understand the importance, and motivate and encourage your team. Implement a system to ensure you never miss the opportunity, maintain the strong doctor-patient relationship, and give personal examples without, of course, naming any person, but stories that they can relate to. Use posters, videos, flyers. So in conclusion, I will say there are so many rapid developments in our understanding and knowledge of HPV vaccination. Single dose is the new off-label recommendation. It's going to become regularized within the year, I'm sure. Even the government is planning to roll out some as a single dose populations already. And the 2-dose recommendations for the older, more than 21 years, the Indian vaccine is no doubt going to be the game changer. And as we know, the ministry is already working on implementing it in the national program. So thank you very much for calling me for this. Yes, the HPV Awareness Day is coming up as well. We have the Cancer Day on the 4th Feb. We have HPV Awareness Day on the 4th March. And this is our slogan, one less worry, ek chinta kam. At least this you can dispense off by timely vaccination and screening. So thank you for giving me so much time and listening to me. And if there are any questions, definitely I will be happy to answer them.
It was wonderful. Very nice. Amazing talk.
Thank you so much, Nirja. You covered all the aspects of HPV vaccine. And yes, Make in India HPV vaccine is definitely going to be a game changer. But as of now, you are saying that single dose vaccine is off label. So I'm really waiting when we can really officially say that single dose vaccine is sufficient, and when it will be included in our national immunization program as well. So these are two things which we all are looking forward to. Till then, I think we all have to follow the 2 doses norms, which you said 3 doses out of question. Is that your take-home message, Nirja?
I think we can follow the off-label because it is a recommendation of WHO. WHO has given the off-label. So we can tell the patients that we can give you the single dose definitely. But as per the company submitting the data for single dose, that is going to come yet.
Yeah, but if we are giving off-label now, everybody reads so much on Google, we will have to inform the girl and parents that this is off-label recommendation, though recommended by WHO.
One more very interesting, if patients are not affording, is that we know that we can actually increase the gap safely. So they not need necessarily take in 6 months. They can take in 1 year. They can take in 1.5, 2, 3. Even in fact, in Canada, they had a 5-year plan in the national government. after 5 years. So they can always, if their cost is a constraint, they can put the money in the collect the piggy bank and come back later also. No, that's also fine. So somebody is asking about the WHO pre-qualification. No, Cervavac is not yet. They have to give the data which is required by WHO, and especially for single dose, because they want 2 years stability of antibody. So it's a very new vaccine yet. So it will need more time to prove that the antibody level is stable. So as of now, we should give at least 2 doses of Cervavac to the young and 3 doses to the older one.
And Nirja, there was a lot of talks going on about the cost that it will be available in 250 or 300 rupees. But now I read that some camp, they are giving it 1600 rupees Indian vaccine.
Yes, that is, I think the distributors are giving it at a good price, especially for wholesale. But anyway, they may probably give it like that because that is the price they will give the government when they book like crores of vaccines.
Okay, so then it will be
on a scale.
Yeah. So are there any?
Thank you, ma'am. I just actually, it is a privilege to chair the session by the talk none other than Nirja ma'am, because ma'am 2018 FIGO guidelines for all the management of cancer. So we are, whenever there is query in the management, I just open that and read it. So thank you very much for that also. And whatever the doubts in the beginning of the session, I had regarding HPV vaccination already cleared up. Thank you very much, ma'am, for the excellent talk.
Just one more question, Nirja, is there is our Indian vaccine fulfills all the WHO criteria?
So yes, it is meeting the WHO criteria, but it has to go through that paperwork.
Okay.
Which they have to do. And in fact, even with COVID, you will remember that even before it got the pre-qualification, some countries were happy to import it. They don't.
But it was natural disaster. I mean, COVID was an exception.
No, but they don't necessarily wait for the pre-qualification from WHO because they can see your data and it's been published now. But they have to go through that paperwork and whatever licensing processes and all that are followed, and they are on the job, so they will get it.
So just one last question. Can we safely use Cervavac in our private practice?
Certainly, most certainly.
Madam, one question I also wanted to ask, because this is the forum sitting here, and because of this budget and including HPV vaccine in our budget, I just wanted to know how can, as an organization, we can put in to the government for those mass vaccinations, which are, so many meetings are going on. The authorities are after us to organize the camps. So what is your take for those mass vaccinations at at the schools or at some, what's
we have a way to vaccinate girls. Either we are getting some support from some agency or some donations. Recently, even some 18 lakhs, this one has told me in Gurgaon she has got. So it is, if we are able to find the support, then we should go ahead, because as I said, every year that we delayed, we put several thousands of girls on the path to this eventual occurrence. So we should do it. We should not wait for the government program. If we can do it, we should let girls know that they have been vaccinated. They should have that knowledge base. And we should try and get whichever vaccine we can get, all our good vaccines. I think the goal is that just take it, whatever you take.
Because recently myself and Dr. Madhuri Gavande went for a meeting where government says they have vaccines. You initiate program. So that is the thing which is going on.
Ma'am, that NGO was saying that single dose for Cervavac, but as at Deco message after the talk of Nirja ma'am, single dose only as of now for Gardasil ma'am. And the Cervavac, it is yet to be confirmed. So as of now,
I'll say two things here. Cervavac, if you are going in a school setting and you know the girls, and you can always go back next year. So you can give 1 dose and say, we'll come back next year if needed. And if not, it's all good. So you have a captive audience. Yes, you can do 1 dose for now. Second thing is always follow the 3-room strategy. Keep the waiting in 1 room, do the vaccination in 1 room, and post observation in another room. Because that helps with young girls, that hysteria and getting scared and fainting and all that. So 3-room strategy is very important. Keep the resuscitation kit at hand always, and make sure that you have a tie-up, some ambulance, something that in rare we've never seen, but we never know. Even 1 in million is 100% for the person who happens it. So keep the ambulance handy, keep the tie-up where you will go if there is a problem, so that no time is lost in case you have a problem, though we have never seen any, but we should be prepared.
Correct. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
I think, Sneha, you must share this webinar immediately with all the friends because it's very important webinar. Very nice information.
That I have already
Formally,
planned.
can please share it.
Yeah, I
That
will
is a
be having
request
the
for you.
recording. I'll be sharing all
Wonderful.
the copies. Don't worry. Thank you so much, Neerja ma'am, for such a wonderful talk. I have already reached an exhaustive and informative talk. Definitely, right person. Thank you so much. We can go ahead, I think.
So after this very impressive talk and with a lot of take-home messages.
Volume.
Volume, Aishwarya.
Yes.
No.
So after this very impressive talk and lots of take-home messages, let's move ahead. The vaccination is done. The next session.
We can go for the second talk now.
The screen. Can you all see the PPT?
No.
No.
Yeah. So the next session, we go to cervical cancer, early detection and stepwise management. So speaker for today, Dr. Sarita Kale ma'am, Chairperson Oncology Committee, AOGD, and the chairpersons with her Dr. Alka Mukherjee ma'am, past president Nagpur OBGY Society, director and consultant of Mukherjee Multi-Speciality Hospital, honored secretary of International Council for Human Rights, honored secretary for ISOPER, and member of many committees including Vishaka. Next chairperson, we have Dr. Tanushree Jain ma'am. She's a senior consultant gynecologic oncology at NCI Nagpur, and she has experience of more than 15 years in gynec onco, special expertise in performing extensive CRS surgeries, credited with performing the first CRS and HIPEC in Central India. And she has special expertise in peritoneal surface malignancies, minimal invasive oncological surgeries, and onco-fertility. We go ahead and request ma'am to please start her talk. Sarita Kale ma'am.
So should I introduce the speaker?
Yes.
Yes. First of all, let me pay my gratitude to Dr. Usha Saraiya, madam. If she remembers, I am from 2011 batch, ma'am. Under you, I did my colposcopy and cytology training. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. The second most dreaded cancer, as we have heard, that cervical cancer, and with early detection and management, we can save our patients. So here we are with our second presentation of today, that is detection and stepwise management of cervical cancer, for which we have the speaker. CV, please. Dr. Sarita. CV, please. Is it displayed?
Sarita ma'am, we cannot see the PPT.
I think Dr. Sarita, you can share your screen and display your CV.
Yes.
Yeah, please.
I actually don't have that in my presentation, but
okay. So no worries. I think
Can we read with the CV?
Dr. Sarita is a very hardcore academician, and she's working in the field of, I would say, oncogynecology since long, and she has got so many accolades to her credit. She has been working relentlessly for this screening and awareness and management of cervical cancer also, and she has been the past office bearer of the International Society of Oncogynec as well. So definitely she is contesting for the FOGSI Oncogynec committee this year. And of course, we can listen to her, and definitely you can start, Dr. Sarita, with your talk. We are eager to listen to you. Over to you, Dr. Sarita.
Respected Dr. Usha Saraiya, Madam, Dr. Jaideep Tang, Dr. Madhuri Patel, Dr. Neerja Bhatla, Dr. Lakshmi Shrikande, Madam, Dr. Priya Ganesh, Dr. Sneha, President of the Nagpur Society, Dr. Sushma Deshmukh, and Dr. Pragati, and all the experts from Nagpur, all the executive members. Thank you so much for this invitation. It's a privilege to be speaking to the Nagpur. I know it's a very active group of the Nagpur Society. In December, I was at Wardha at the where Dr. Sureka Taide had organized a CME, and I see, there's so much work going on in Maharashtra and in Nagpur. Can you see my presentation?
Not yet, ma'am.
No?
Not not
It was visible, but now it's not seen.
Yeah, okay. Can you see now?
Yes, ma'am.
yes.
So after that brilliant talk by Dr. Nija on vaccination, yes, truly, when the vaccination is introduced throughout the country, it's going to sweep the country, and we are going to have, definitely a reduction in cervical cancer numbers. However, early screening and early detection is also one part which all of us need to learn, and we need to start doing it actively. So the topic given to me is about early detection and stage-wise management. It's actually a whole 3 chapters in one, but I will try to condense whatever I can in 20 minutes. So I will be speaking a bit about screening and how to triage after screening, and about staging of cancer cervix and the stage-wise management. So screening for cancer cervix. The WHO, we know that they have given a call for cervical cancer elimination, because it is a cancer which can be eliminated because there is the facility for vaccination, screening, and treatment of pre-invasive lesions, this treatment is very, very simple. And the global strategy was launched in 2020 for vaccination of 90% of girls, screening of 70% of women at least, and treatment of 90% of the women that were screen positive. So then the WHO in 2021 brought out the guidelines for screening, where the HPV test is the preferred test. Sorry. So HPV is the preferred test for screening because of its very high sensitivity and a very high negative predictive value. You can start screening from 30 to 50 years. Why 30? Because there is a very high incidence of HPV positivity in below 30 years, which a lot of women clear on their own. That is why it is more cost effective to start screening with HPV at 30 years. However, in those women with HIV, you need to start at earlier, that is at 25 years. And you can screen every 5 to 10 yearly with the HPV test. So that is the advantage with the HPV test. That is, if the HPV test is negative, as it has a very high negative predictive value, you can safely leave the woman for 5 years and maybe 10 years. So that is why they say that if you can screen, at least 3 times in a lifetime, then, you can eliminate cervical cancer. And if the HPV test is not available, what is to be done? So you can continue with whatever you have available, VI or PAP smear every 3 yearly from 25 to 65 years. So HPV testing has a very high negative predictive value, and so it says that all is well for the next 5 years at least. And this is the WHO, this is the FOGSI GCPR guidelines in 2023 also incorporated these WHO guidelines. And since HPV is not really widely available everywhere, however, it's only available in good resource setting and those women who can afford. So if they can afford it, you can go for an HPV testing every 5 years. And however, if that is not available, then even cytology and VI is acceptable. So the age to start screening with PAP is 25 years and with HPV is 30 years. And the age to end screening is 65 years. If you're doing with cytology, it is 3 yearly. And so if you can, suppose you get a lady at 60 years, or at say 65 years, you need not say that, this is the age we stop screening. However, this is provided the previous 3 negative tests have been negative. So she's had previous tests and they have been negative. However, if she comes to you at 65, then at least do a pap smear at that time. And screening after hysterectomy is not recommended. It's only if they have the CIN in that specimen. Now, if you find that a lady is screen positive, what to do next? So the WHO actually recommends the screen and treat approach. This is to minimize, the loss to follow, because you find a screening test that is positive, then you call this lady for colposcopy. So they never turn up. A lot of them do not turn up. So therefore, the WHO recommends screen and treat. So at the same visit. So if you can screen by VI, you can see the lesion and you can treat them directly by if it is suitable for ablation. If it is not suitable for ablation, then you go for excision. However, with HPV DNA, you need to triage with either VIA to know whether what is the type of transformation zone, or whether if you're able to see the squamocolumnar junction or not. If you can see the squamocolumnar junction, then you can treat by ablation. If not, then you need to go for excision. So if you screen and treat with HPV DNA will involve a two-step, that is using a VIA for a triage to know the method of treatment. So the screen, triage, and treat approach, we commonly use colposcopy for triage. So if you have any pap smear which is abnormal, so anything more than ascus on a pap smear needs colposcopy and a biopsy. And then treatment can be done at the same time as colposcopy, again to minimize the number of visits. So if the lesion is amenable to ablation, so you can take a biopsy and treat at the same time. So if the squamocolumnar junction is visible, if the squamocolumnar junction is not visible, again she can be called for LEDs. So in one visit itself, the colposcopy and treatment can be done, instead of waiting for the biopsy and delaying it. So then the screen, if you're going for HPV DNA testing, then again, anybody who's 16, 18 positive, then can be go for colposcopy. However, if you don't have this option of genotyping, then you can straight away call this lady for colposcopy. So if you basically see what is the type of lesion that she has, and then go for treatment. So the treatment again can be done at the same visit as the colposcopy. Now, at colposcopy, it's important to identify the squamocolumnar junction. So the junction of the pink and the red epithelium, as that is the squamocolumnar junction. So something which is seen very easily, that is squamocolumnar junction is visible easily without any manipulation. That is called transformation zone type 1. If you need little bit of manipulation to see the squamocolumnar junction, it is transformation zone type 2. And if the squamocolumnar junction is not seen at all with any manipulation, that is transformation zone type 3. So in that case, if you're able to, if you cannot see the transformation zone at all, then then you would need to go for excision. So this is the IFCP. So the standard, whatever findings you see, it has to be reported in a particular format. So this is the IFCPC has laid down this format for the assessment. So either you see, first of all, you have to see whether the colposcopy is adequate, so that if you're able to see the cervix clearly, then that means it is adequate. If there is any blood or mucus obscuring, then it is inadequate. And a normal colposcopy findings are when you're able to see a normal mature squamous epithelium and a squamocolumnar junction easily. And a Nabotian cyst or squamous metaplasia, they're taken again as normal findings. And if you find any acetovite areas, then you need to grade them as minor or major lesions. So anything which is thin acetovite or with irregular borders, then it is called minor. And anything which is densely acetovite, that is called as the major. And then there is a scoring which is called the SWEET score, which has been introduced a few years ago. That helps to actually objectively, define what is the type, what is the grade of the lesion. So if the acetoviteness is graded, is given a score of 0, 1, and 2, based on the intensity of the acetoviteness, the margins, the vessel pattern within the lesion, what is the size of the lesion. So anything, a big lesion, which they give a higher score. And if the iodine staining, if it's a patchy uptake or it's a distinctly yellow, so distinctly yellow gets a higher score. So the colposcopy examination has to be systematic. Once you apply normal saline, then you apply acetic acid, then you apply Lugol's iodine. and go for general assessment, the adequacy, squamocolumnar junction visibility, and the TZ type. So if you find a normal colposcopy findings, then it report as normal. If you find abnormal, then general principles are where is the lesion located, what is the grade of the lesion, what is the score, and then what is your diagnosis and what is your management plan. And if it is suspicious for invasion, then you take multiple biopsies and you go and then plan the management accordingly. So then once you find or make a diagnosis, you get cancer cervix in the biopsy, what to do next. Now, that is when you need to stage, and the staging is completely, it is clinical. Now, what the 2021 update on the staging, which Madam Dr. Nisha Batla has formulated this, the update in 2018, the FIGO Oncology Committee, when she was the chairperson of the Oncology Committee, revised the staging to allow the option of clinical, radiological, or pathologic findings, because we do a lot of these imaging even when a case of, say, cervix is diagnosed, and all of these are added to assign the stage, and a corrigendum to this staging was then published with some modification. So the main changes in the staging are the horizontal dimension of a microinvasive lesion is no longer considered. So earlier we used to take depth of invasion and the horizontal spread, but the horizontal spread is no longer considered. The tumor size has been stratified into the 3 subgroups. So stage 1B is categorized. Earlier it was 1B1 and 1B2, but now we have 1B3 also. So 1B1 is less than 2 centimeters, 1B2 is 2 to 4 centimeters, and 1B3 is more than 4 centimeters, because the prognosis varies in the different staging. So this is after reviewing a lot of evidence. And lymph node positivity correlates with poorer oncological outcome. So if you find pelvic lymph nodes positive on imaging, so it becomes stage 3C. And then if you find them later on histopathology, then it's again that means it is by pathology. So if the pelvic lymph nodes are positive, it is 3C1, and if the parietic lymph nodes are positive, it is 3C2. And micrometastasis is also included in stage 3C. So the changes in stage 1 are mainly, the removing, the width, the horizontal spread has been taken out. And microinvasive carcinoma, you can only diagnose by histopathology of cone specimens, either taken by LEDs or conization or by hysterectomy specimens. So it is difficult to make a diagnosis of microinvasive just on colposcopy, or you can suspect, but then the final diagnosis only is on histopathology. So stage 1A1 is when the depth of invasion is less than or equal to 3 millimeters, and A2 is when it is that depth of stromal invasion is between 3 to 5 millimeters. But when you find a visible lesion on the cervix, then it is 1B. So it straight away goes to 1B, and if the size is less than 2 centimeters, then it is 1B1. If it is 2 to 4 centimeters, it is 1B2, and more than 4 centimeters, it is 1B3. The other staging has been in the stage 3C, the changes in the staging, where there is involvement of the lymph nodes has also been added, and the annotations of P and R. So R is when it is positive on the imaging, and P is if it is positive on histopathology. So you add this noting of R and P to indicate the findings that you use to allocate the case to stage 3C. So then how do you manage a lady who diagnosed with cervical cancer? So it's really important, history and physical examination, a complete physical examination, what is her performance status, the complete blood count, including the platelet count, the cervical biopsy, and maybe you need to go for a pathology review, mainly to the grade of the tumor and the type, histological type, and if there is any lymph vascular space invasion, because that worsens the prognosis. And any the basic liver function, renal function test to know for any type of management, you need to know these basic, you need to do this basic workup, chest x-ray, renal ultrasound, and this is just to know if they the kidneys, if there is any hydronephrosis. Earlier we used to do intravenous urography, but that is no longer needed. Now this is the imaging of choice in early stages, MRI, but ultrasound is equally informative. But if the staging is advanced, then that CT will help you to know if there are any lymph nodes involved, so that it just upstages. It's basically to know if the lymph nodes are involved. Now, cystoscopy and sigmoidoscopy, that used to be done earlier, but it's only recommended if the lady is symptomatic. So if she has any symptoms related to the bladder or the rectum, or if there is a barrel-shaped endocervical growth, or the growth is extending to the anterior vaginal wall, and you cannot just visualization, if bullous edema cannot assign the case to stage 4, you need a biopsy confirmation to assign the case. So what are the modes of management? You have surgery. Surgery is feasible in stage 1A and 1B, and also in cases of stage 2A1, where the size of the tumor is less than 4 centimeters. Now, in chemoradiotherapy is a combination of chemotherapy and radiotherapy. It's so anything more than stage 1A, 2A1, that is 2A2, 2A2B, and stage 3 and 4, you need to go for chemoradiotherapy because surgery is not possible in this stage. So what are the types of surgery? So the principles of surgery for cervical cancer, for any cancer, you need to take out the tumor, a good margin of healthy tissue, and the draining lymph nodes. So therefore, in a case of cancer cervix, depending on the stage, there are different types of hysterectomy, have been classified earlier by Piver and Rutledge, and later by Querlo and Morrow. And so this is the Querlo and Morrow classification is what we use commonly. So it's type A, type B, or type C hysterectomy. So anything which is microinvasive, so stage 1A1, so you can go for a simple extrafacial hysterectomy also, or even conization, where we only, it's like a routine hysterectomy. Whereas anything which is more than 1A1, that is, it's microinvasive, but there is lymph vascular space invasion, or that is 1A1 with LVSI, or 1A2. So the depth of invasion is more than 3 millimeters, within 3 to 5 millimeters. Then you need to take out the parametrium. So the level of the dissection, should parametrium is taken out, is up to at the level of the ureters, and you take out 1 to 2 centimeters of the vagina, and also the uterosacral ligaments are also partially removed. Whereas anything which is going to stage 1B, 1B1, 1B2, and selected case of stage 2A. So it is a type C hysterectomy. That means the parametrium is taken out. It's the dissection is at the level, it's the origin of the uterine artery from the anterior division of the internal iliac. The ovaries are optionally removed, and the upper 1/4 to 1/3 of the vagina is removed, and the ureters also dissected. I mean, you have to go lateral to the ureter. So basically, they take out the cardinal ligaments are divided at the pelvic side wall, and the uterosacral ligaments are divided near the sacral origin. So if you can see the resection line of a simple versus a radical hysterectomy. So with simple total hysterectomy, you are just cutting at the level of the cervix, so just at this sleeve, whereas in a radical hysterectomy, you're taking out the vagina also, the upper 1/3. So this is on a dorsal view and a ventral view. So you can see, so you're taking out the cardinal ligaments here, and the parameter and the broad ligament, the peritoneum here of the broad ligament, and the uterine arteries, dissected at the level of the origin. And posteriorly, this is at the cutting line of radical hysterectomy. This is what you see posteriorly at the level of at the uterosacral ligaments. So this is the resection line. If you go the cross section and transversely, you can see this is where you cut the cardinal ligaments and the uterosacral ligaments here. And also you dissect out the ureters. Actually, you lateralize the ureters, and you take out the anterior, the vesicocervical ligaments. So in stage 1A1 is that is a microinvasive carcinoma. So even conization can be done. Because the depth of invasion is less than 3 millimeters. And if the margins of the cone are negative, then the case, she can be kept on follow-up. Whereas if the margins are negative but medically operable, she can go for extrafacial hysterectomy. So this is an option which can be given, and she has completed her family. This is as per the NCCN, latest NCCN guidelines. However, if the margins of the cone are positive, but they're positive for dysplasia or CIN, then hysterectomy or a re-excision is to be done. Whereas if the margins are positive for malignancy, then a radical hysterectomy is to be done. Whereas if the lady is medically inoperable, then radiotherapy can be given. Now it's stage 1A1 with LVSI. There's lymph vascular space invasion. That is something which the pathologists report. So if there is LVSI or if there's stage 1A2, that is depth of invasion is between 3 to 5 millimeters, there is a risk of lymph node metastasis. So a radical hysterectomy and a pelvic lymphadenectomy should be done, or if for fertility preservation, radical tracheotomy can be given. Now, if a little advanced stage, that is stage 1B1 and 2A1, then type C hysterectomy or type 3 hysterectomy, there is with pelvic lymphadenectomy has to be done. And this is preferred in young patients, and we see a lot of cancers in the young between the 30 and 40, where you need to preserve the ovary. So you can go for a fertility, not fertility, actually ovarian preservation in these women. So the advantages of surgery, although chemoradiotherapy also can be given, the advantages of surgical treatment are you can determine what is the post-operatively, what is the stage precisely on the basis of the histopathological findings, and treat cancers that are resistant to radiotherapy, especially the adenocarcinomas. And you can conserve the ovarian function by transpositioning the ovaries. So you can put the ovaries up so that they are preserved. So ovarian function can be preserved. Now, stage 1B3 to 2A. So these are the bulky tumors. So they are large tumors and there are higher risk of positive lymph nodes, positive parametrum, and surgical margins. So therefore, chemoradiotherapy is preferred. That gives a better overall and progression-free survival. Now, if radiotherapy facilities are scarce and neoadjuvant therapy can be given followed by surgery. So this is only in places where the radiotherapy facilities are scarce. So chemotherapy helps in downstaging of the tumor to improve the radical curability and safety of surgery and inhibition of micrometastasis and distant metastasis. But this is not to be done as a routine. Post-op chemoradiotherapy is given after the radical hysterectomy if there is deep invasion of the tumor, or if you find the resection margins are positive or the lymph nodes show deposits. So in summary, cervical cancer is one cancer which can be eliminated. And so what we can do is all of us as FOGSians, 40,000 gynecologists, I'm sure we can do all this. We can screen all eligible women. We can treat all the screen positives and try to adopt a one-stop measures so that there is, it's not just enough to just screen. So treatment of the screen positives is also important. So adopt one-stop measures rather than as far as possible. And colposcopy is a simple procedure. Minimal training is needed. So a lot of courses are available. The FOGSI, the Indian Society of Colposcopy, and the International Federation of Colposcopy also is a distance learning program ongoing in our country. If you find finds a case of cancer cervix, then just take a biopsy. You need not refer them for colposcopy. You can take a biopsy straight away and stage at the same sitting, you stage clinically. And so need not send them for imaging, need not send them for MRI, because staging is purely clinical. And if it is stage 2A, go for surgery, and stage anything more than that, then go for CCRT is the treatment of choice. So I seek your support as the chairperson of the FOGSI Gynae Oncology Committee. I have been working actually in this field for more than 20 years. So this was the first time I started when I did my colposcopy training in St. George's Hospital in London. So, and there's so many advances. It's an exciting field now with so many things going on in the field of cervical cancer. And I'm sure in a few years, all of us, we see an end to cervical cancer, or at least eliminated in our country. So I've conducted many workshops and training programs through the Indian Society of Colposcopy, and also we have organized Asia's first World Congress of Colposcopy in the year 2021. And I've been involved in a lot of FOGSI programs on cancer screening. So thank you so much for your patient listening.
Thank you, Dr. Sarita, for lucidly covering the most important aspect of cervical cancer detection and management. You told us very well you narrated the primary treatment options as well as see and treat policy is very good. you told us about the fertility sparing surgeries as well as hysterectomies. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Now moving to third session. From the second most important cause of cancer, that is cervical cancer, we are moving to the most common causes of cancer, that is breast cancer. I think Madam Tanushri has joined. Ma'am, you want to say? Dr. Tanushri,
No, I just wanted to, hi.
Hi.
I wanted to congratulate Sarita ma'am. She has really covered everything. I just wanted to add something here that now since we have moved to clinical radiological staging, so I think I am more involved in treatment parts. So I would like to say here that we have moved more towards now imaging as contrary to what we were 20 years back, where we were just relying on our clinical examinations. So I think that needs to be now put forth. But yes, unless and until we detect these female early, it's completely a game for radiation. So I really want to thank ma'am for stressing a lot on that, particularly for HPV, use of HPV for early detection. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, Tanushree, yes, I know. We do a lot of imaging, especially for those whom we are going to operate. So those early cases. What I'm emphasizing is once you find a case of cancer cervix, you need not just refer straight away for imaging, because you can do the stage there, because there's no point doing imaging if you know that already.
No, ma'am.
Yeah.
But now the cancer has incorporated radiology.
Yes,
and it's
but that is optional. It's not mandatory. Imaging is not for the staging.
Earlier it was optional, ma'am. Now it's incorporated. Earlier we were on this US ultrasound and all, but now we have come up with PET-CT staging and MRI for local. So what I just want to say is we have moved forward in treatment part. What we are lacking is in our early detection part, which you really rightly pointed. That's what we should all concentrate on, ma'am. So really, thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
It was really very nice, amazing.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
Very nice.
An ounce of cancer prevention is worth a ton of cancer cure. So, but are we reasonable in advising breast cancer screening? So, to throw the light on this, we have a third session, that is judicious use of screening tools in early detection of breast cancer. And for this session, the chairpersons are first Dr. Alka Kumar. She's President NARCHI 2024. And she's senior gynecologist and former assistant professor at RDG Medical College Ujjain. She has many publications and she is a creator of Suno Sahiliyo song, that is mostly on cervical cancer awareness. And she's passionate about spreading awareness and educating women on genital malignancy. She has many chapters in the book about menopause, past, present, and future, the social aspects of menopause. We welcome you, ma'am. The second chairperson for today is, can you please show the slide? Is Dr. Rujuta Fuke, madam. She is associate professor at Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology, Government Medical College Hospital, Nagpur. And she is a past treasurer, NOGS 2022-23. We welcome you, ma'am. And the third chairperson for today is Dr. Prachi Dikshit, madam. She is associate professor at AIMS. She has done her MBBS from GMC Nagpur, MS Obstetric and Gynecology from Lady Hardinge Medical College with Dr. Pushpa Madan Medal for Best All-Rounder Postgraduate. She is a member Task Force Maharashtra University of Health Science for implementation of CBME. We welcome Dr. Prachi, madam.
Thank you so much. So, thank you, NOGS and FOGSI, for entrusting me the prestigious task of chairing session of eminent speaker. I'm also thankful to my senior co-chairs who allowed me to introduce Dr. Sneha Bhuyar, madam. And she's pride of Yavatmal, Vidarbha, Maharashtra, and of course, FOGSI and India. So, ma'am is a governing council member of ICOG. She is currently a NOGS chairperson for emergency obstetrics, Committee 24 to 26. She is MOGS Chair of Medical Disorder Committee in the previous one. She is National Expert for UNICEF, FOGSI Chairperson in Breast Committee from 2019 to 21. And along with so many designations, she has also been endowed with awards like Dr. S.N. Malhotra National Award for Outstanding Work in Rural Obstetrics, Dr. Durusha Award for Distinguished Community Services of 2022, Anandibai Joshi State Award by Government of Maharashtra. Ma'am, not taking the precious time from everyone to listen you more, ma'am will be talking on judicious use of screening tools in early detection of breast cancer. We are eager to hear to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Sahiti, can you please stop sharing? Sahiti, can you please stop sharing? So a very good evening. I think, hello, Sahiti.
I will call her, ma'am.
Yeah. So thank you. A very good evening, one and all. And I just once again thank the President of NOGS, Dr. Sushma Deshmukh, and Secretary Dr. Pragati Karatkar, Dr. Lakshmi Shikhande, always a friend, philosopher, and guide, and all my dear friends, Dr. Alka Kumar and Alka Mukherjee, and of course the chairperson, Prachi Dixit, Dr. Alka, and Dr. Rujita. So without much ado, I would like to share my screen and straightway start with my presentation for my topic today. As you have heard already, that it's a judicious use of screening tools for the screening and early detection of breast cancer. So all of you know that there are so many screening modalities for breast cancer, and now as everybody is talking about the imaging, so you have a wide spectrum of imaging tools. So it's our moral responsibility to choose the right one, which is the most cost effective. All of you know that for screening, the method has to be ideal. So, it should be easily available, accessible, it should be cost effective, it should be very sensitive, not to miss anything. It should be very specific, not to have unnecessary false positive. And of course, yes, if at all you screen and you find it is positive, there should be some preventive measures. But unfortunately, for breast cancer, you do not have any preventive measures. And that's the reason early diagnosis becomes our responsibility. So friends, breast cancer and cervical cancer, these are the two main killers of our women. We have been, working so hard as obstetricians. We are saving their lives and we are, losing them to these two deadly cancers. So previously, cervical cancer was the #1 killer. And all of you know that because of the wide spectrum of awareness, the public awareness, also the organized screening strategies by the government as well as various NGOs, and of course the effective vaccination which is available for prevention, the very effective referral system, and of course the effective management. We are, taking this cervical cancer is taking a seat back. But breast cancer, there are no preventive measures, there are no vaccine, and that's a very reason making awareness in the general public, screening them, for early detection becomes our responsibility. So friends, across the world, it has been observed that women depend upon their gynecologists for, any problems related to their reproductive organs as well as breast. By virtue of our practice, we obstetrician gynecologists, we are, directly concerned with the breastfeeding promotion as well as the problems associated with breastfeeding like breast engorgement and mastitis, breast abscess, lactation stimulation or suppression, both at the same time as some endocrinological problems like mastalgia, cyclical, non-cyclical, galactoria, also the treatment of this, the hormone sensitive tumors, the ERPR positive, and of course the follow-up of this breast cancer. So everything is done by the gynecologist. And to accomplish this, the American Board of Obstetrician and Gynecologists has provided guidelines to integrate this basic teaching in the PG curriculum. But even today, we in India, we do not have this teaching in the PG curriculum, and we also feel the same. So we have to treat breast as gynecologist domain, at least, as far as the breastfeeding, the benign breast diseases, and awareness, screening, and early detection of breast cancer. So friends, we obstetrician gynecologists are privileged because we can save the mothers, the women's lives. Why I'm talking about this? Because previously we used to think that it is a surgeon's domain, and all our patients with any problem related to breast, we used to refer to the surgeons. And that is why time has once again come to revise our opinion. So what is breast cancer? Let us start from the basics. I'll just give a quick overview about this. It is the cancer or malignancy of the breast tissue, which actually has, the milk secreting glands, that is the lobules, and of course, the milk collecting tubular structure, that is the ducts. Also, you can have the cancer in the stroma. So it can start in any part of the breast, but it can spread to the opposite breast, axilla, and anywhere in the body. Why are we giving so much importance to this? You have just heard Dr. Madhuri Patel talking about it. Every year we are losing around 90,000 women to this breast cancer. Look at the statistics of 2018. The combined incidence of breast cancer for male, female, it is 14%. But when it comes to women alone, it goes to 28%. And every year you have 1,72,000 new cases rising, and we are losing around 90,000 women to this deadly disease.
Ma'am,
yes,
can I just interrupt? Ma'am, we are not seeing your slideshow.
okay.
Yeah, now we can. Thank you so
Okay.
much. Yeah.
Okay, so if you have a look at this graph, earlier than 40 years, you see that the incidence is not very high. By the age of 20, it is only 1 out of 1681. But by the age of 40, it is suddenly 1 out of 69. And for every woman, there is a lifetime risk of 1 out of 8, that high is the risk for breast cancer. And that is how we have to know the basics of anatomy and physiology to tackle, the early diagnosis as well as management. So this is just a cut section of this breast, which shows you, this milk secreting glands and this tubular structure, white structure, the milk collecting ducts and the intervening stroma. All of you know this, the lymphatics and lymph nodes, but of clinical importance because you need to palpate them. So low axillary, mid axillary, high axillary, and the Hall cells and the internal mammary lymph nodes. Estrogen and progesterone, the very hormone which are responsible for the feminine appearance of the breast, the same ones are the culprit for growth of the cancer cells. And that is why we need to work on all this anatomy as well as physiology. So for screening, what do you mean by this? You have to know first what is the risk for this woman, that is the risk screening, then breast screening, and the genetic screening. So what is the risk screening? That means what is the risk of this particular woman, and why do we need to do? We need to know all this because survival epidemiology and end result data says that breast cancer 5-year survival varies as per the stage of diagnosis. So if you have a very early stage, that is local disease, the 5-year survival is 99%. If it is a regional disease, 85%. And if it has already spread distantly, then it is only 27%. And so it's not, all of a sudden it happens. If you can diagnose it at the earliest, you can definitely treat it. So screen, early detection, timely and effective referral for appropriate management. That should be our strategy. So in India, the number of cases are actually comparatively less, but the mortality is high. The reason being almost 70% of these cases, they are diagnosed at the advanced stage where, the mortality and morbidity is very high. So screening for breast cancer, actually it has definite strategy, and that is how you have to know at what age we have to screen these women. So till date, we just know that only choriocarcinoma and early breast cancer, they are the curable ones. Screening definitely plays an important role in early detection and timely referral. And medical imaging is not only used for screening, but also detection strategy, staging, as well as monitoring of the therapy, as somebody has talked about, PET, scan, etc. And of course, the post-operative post-operative follow-up. So how should be the ideal screening test? As all of you know, self-breast examination, clinical breast examination, imaging modalities. That is how we divide the screening strategy. But what comes is most important for our Indian women whose illiteracy level is so low, and because of their, busy work or maybe negligence about self, at the same time, the various socio-cultural taboos. They're very reluctant to go to any doctor, especially the surgeons, because till now it was so. And that is how there comes a role of, the awareness for breast cancer. At least let us make the women breast aware. Now comes the breast cancer screening. These are basically the risk factors which are some of them are modifiable, and we as obstetrician gynecologists need to work on that. Some factors, as all of you know, that you are a woman, that is her gender. You are a woman, that itself puts you at a very high risk of breast cancer, as we have already seen. Your advancing age adds to the risk of it. If you have a family history, your mother, sister, anybody has suffered from breast cancer, then you are at a higher risk. Your personal history, you have suffered breast cancer in one of the breasts, you are very prone for the breast cancer on the opposite side. Early menarche and late menopause, the wider period of exposure to estrogen, increased breast density, chest irradiation during childhood especially, and of course, BRCA1, BRCA2 mutation. These are the risk factors which are non-modifiable. They are, attached to you. Nothing much can be done to this. But your weight, BMI, you can definitely work on it. Your habits like alcohol, smoking, menopausal hormone, even before that, I would say use of the oral contraceptive, you have to really select the patients, combine OCPs. Your age at first child, if you have your child after the age of 30 years, and maybe you have not breastfed the baby exclusively, maybe only one child, and that too, if you have not breastfed properly, you are at a high risk. And then, of course, the menopausal hormone therapy. Now comes the breast cancer, breast screening, that is the local examination of the breast. So these are the various organizations, including United States Preventive Services Task Force, American Cancer Society, American College of Obstetrician Gynecologists, American College of Physicians, and American Association of Family Physicians. So all these organizations have unanimously accepted that for an average risk woman, that means woman who doesn't have all these risk factors, even then she's prone for breast cancer. But for an average risk woman below the age of 40 years, there is no need for screening. But after the age of 40 years, definitely we should offer her screening. So that is what unanimously accepted. Now, what American Cancer Society guidelines are, how you should screen your woman to, prevent from getting this cancer, and early detection as well. So it recommends that right from the age of 20, we should, teach the woman or the girl for self-breast examination, though it is optional. So every monthly following menses, the week following menses, you should ask her to examine her breast. How? We'll come to it later. And then, of course, breast clinical examination at least once in 3 years if there is no abnormality. But after the age of 40 years, we have to offer her mammography, that is annually. 40 to 44, it can be optional, but 45 to 54, we have to make it mandatory annually. And if there is no abnormality, then you can taper it down to, every 2 yearly. That is what is the recommendation for an average risk woman. For a high risk woman, BRCA1, BRCA2 positive, family history or personal history, these women, for them, we have to go for mammography plus MRI annually after the age of 30 years. And in a lady who has got family history of breast cancer, at least 5 years earlier to the age of detection of a relative. So that is how the breast, screening is recommended. These are the various symptoms or, the findings you have to look for: new lumps in the breast, thickening or swelling, irritation or dimpling of the skin, redness or flaky skin, nipple discharge, change in shape or size of the breast, and maybe the pain as well. Though we, we always say that usually any cancer is painless, but there sometimes it can be painful as well. And you don't have to make a drastic statement that because it is painful, it cannot be cancer. So it doesn't hold true for breast lump. We see many patients who are coming with painful lump and the biopsy comes as positive. So these are the findings which you have to look for: the lump or thickening, discharge, change in shape and size of the breast, and of course the appearance, the nipple retraction or the further orange appearance of the skin overlying, and the redness. So coming to the self breast examination, the woman has to look for her, examine her breast every monthly, the week following the menses, and she has to do it with her own palmar aspect of the hand, So she can use her right hand for the left breast and left hand for the right breast. When should she do this? Either she has to stand in front of the mirror, completely exposed her breast right up to the waist, or maybe while having her bath or having her shower, whatever, she can palpate her breast. And as we have already said, right from the age of 20 years, we can do this. Evidence doesn't suggest reduction in the mortality due to breast cancer because of self-breast examination. That is what the Western data says. But for a resource-poor country like India, where the women are so negligent, making them breast aware, at least have a look at her breast and examine, can make her aware of her breast, and there can be something abnormal which she can detect and report to her doctor. So I think in India, definitely self-breast examination is a good tool for screening. So we can find something and subject her to further investigation. So self-breast examination, as I have told you, she has to first inspect. So she has to stand in front of the mirror with both her arms by the side. You can see in this picture. Look at both the breasts, whether both the breasts are equal in size. There is symmetry. Whether there is any dimple or lump, or there is any puckering or dimpling, scaling of the skin. This is on inspection. Then she has to keep her hands on the waist and little tilt forward, that is, lean forward. And then she has to see whether there is any change in the size or shape of her breast. And then, of course, she has to raise her hands above the head. And again, she has to look for any abnormality. Now comes the palpation. So as I have said, right hand for the left one and left hand for the right. So she has to palpate her breast right from upside down, then from side to side, that is lateral to medial, and maybe it can be from center to periphery, or it can be round. So the only intention here is to say that not to miss any part of the breast to be examined. And after she finishes examining the breast, she has to look for the armpit, that is the axilla. So complete breast and axilla on both sides. That is how she has to examine both her breasts, and then finally she has to squeeze her nipple to see for any discharge. So this is what is self-breast examination, which is to be done by the woman herself. Now coming to clinical breast examination, you can see in this picture very clearly I have mentioned that the similar thing, the inspection with the clothing exposed up to waist, the arms by the side, the arms on the waist, arms raised above the hand, that is the inspection, and then the palpation upside down, side to side, concentric or radial, but the same examination done by a clinician without using any gadget. What we label it as clinical breast examination. And this has been accepted very well worldwide to be the most effective, major or most effective tool for screening for breast cancer. So we have to do this after the age of 30 years. Once you do it, if it is normal, there is no abnormality detected, then you may repeat the clinical breast examination maybe every 3 years. Now coming to the breast imaging modalities, all of you can see here there are so many imaging modalities here. So you have the X-ray, so digital X-ray, digital breast tomosynthesis, contrast enhanced digital mammography. Mammography, in short, is the gold standard for screening and early detection of breast cancer. But yes, there are certain, differences of opinion, or maybe there are certain patients whose breasts are dense. So in this situation, you may have to combine the ultrasonography with the mammography, what we call it as sonomammography, which gives you the optimum results. So for ultrasound, you have sonography, automated breast ultrasound, contrast enhanced ultrasound, as well as three-dimensional, the 3D, 4D, power Doppler, color Doppler, and also the tissue elasticity imaging or stress elastography, shear wave elastography. So all these, MRI, I have already talked to you about that. MRI is not a routine screening method for an average risk woman. It is a screening modality for a high risk woman. That too, MRI, the routine one, diffusion wave imaging, magnetic resonance elastography, as well as the magnetic resonance spectroscopy. These are the advanced versions which can, add value to this imaging modality. You have gamma radiation nuclear medicine, where you have single photon emission computed tomography, what we call it as SPECT, and positron emission tomography, that is the PET scan. You have non-ionizing radiation, optical imaging, as well as breast microwave imaging. So I have already talked to you that self-breast examination, it is recommended for the average risk woman. The age I have told you, you have to go for every monthly postmenstrually, but evidence doesn't suggest any benefit of reduction in mortality because of self-breast examination. Clinical breast examination definitely have evidence-based benefits. Mammography is the gold standard. I have told you that offer her mammography annually from 40 to 44 years, but make it mandatory from 45 to 54 years. Once you find that there is nothing abnormal, from 55 years onwards, maybe you can taper it down to every 2 yearly till 70 years. Or because why 70 years? Because we have seen that there is a plateau after 75 years of age. So up to 75 years, or maybe when the life expectancy is less than 10 years. So these are the American Cancer Society guidelines. Now you will say whether it is really feasible for us Indian. So for this to, optimize the results, if you find that initially, when you do the mammography, and if you find there is nothing abnormal in the findings, then maybe you have to taper it down to every 3 yearly, so that to make it more cost effective. Now, mammographic signs of breast cancer can be very subtle. All of you know how to, you have 0 to 6 grades, and it is a radiologist's job. But yes, for our interpretation also, we should know whether the positioning is correct. We have to, make a standard search pattern and compare the current mammographs with the prior ones. So that is why whenever a woman comes to you, you suggest after the age of 40 years, you must offer her at least once mammography, even if you don't suspect anything abnormal, so that you have a baseline mammography film with you, or baseline mammography report with you, so that in future, at least whenever you subject this patient to mammography, or if there are any certain changes, you can, refer to the old one or the baseline mammography.
Hello.
Hello.
What happened? What happened suddenly? I don't know.
Actually, I was also surprised what it.
एकदम suddenly it has.
Suddenly something has gone wrong. I think there's a glitch.
Dr. Sneha?
I think I'll
It's
call.
from her side only.
It seems she automatically she has left the
There may be an internet problem, Pragati. There's a glitch somewhere. I thought it was from my side. Suddenly it happened. Dr. Sneha?
Is somebody calling, ma'am? Pragati, ma'am?
Somebody can phone her.
Sneha is joining. Sneha is joining.
Yeah.
She just called up me. She got disconnected. She's joining in 2
She's
minutes.
joining? Okay.
Yes, she's joining in 2 minutes.
A very nice discussion is going on, but
Yes, very nice CME, Sushma.
It's a wonderful CME, yeah.
Organized, and that on the cancer.
It was
very
really
practical.
wonderful.
Very practical.
Every speaker is really very with good
And they are giving all
all the
practical tips.
practical tips.
This session was also going very nicely, and I was so engrossed, and suddenly the glitch was there. I think she will be joining in few minutes.
Usha ma'am,
I
want to say
think
something? The time she has come. Sneha is correcting.
I'm so sorry. I just realized suddenly the it got disconnected. So I hope I was able to be heard or audible.
Yes, but make it slight slow.
Yeah, it is. Is it okay?
Yes.
Just let me know whether from mammography here you could hear me up to this.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. So this I was just talking about that though we say that it's a radiologist's job, we also have to know at least few details about this mammography for the at least whether the film is correctly done or no, or how do we evaluate the according to the positioning of the film, as well as how to maintain the standard search pattern, whether anterior, posterior, the fat glandular interface, and of course the ages, the axillary trail, and etc. So we have to compare the mammograms, the current one with the prior ones. And I was giving you here one message that after the age of 40 years, even if the lady doesn't have any symptoms or signs, we should subject her to mammography. That is what I have been doing now since at least last 10 years. But and the reason being, it is available for the future reference. So that is what the message here is. And I was just trying to compare about the sensitivity, specificity, and advantages of mammography. So mammography is the gold standard for screening as well as diagnosis. The sensitivity is 68 to 83% almost, and the specificity is quite high, 90 to 95%. It can detect the masses, calcifications, everything. Only when you have women with very dense breast, it can be the problem. And here in this situation, sonomammography can optimize your results. Full field digital mammography is one more advanced mammography where you have the sensitivity little higher. The sensitivity is improved, and this can be helpful in the dense breast. Of course, the 3D picture is also available for if you want to really view them and interpret it. Contrast enhanced mammography, the sensitivity is again 78 to 92%, and you have breast scintillatomograph where the sensitivity is very high, comparable. I mean, you can compare it to almost MRI, but it is, the advantages being whenever you have the equivocal results on mammography or sonography alone, then you may go for breast scintillatomograph. The breast, as I have been talking about, sonomammography definitely optimizes your screening technique, and of course you can it can minimize the high false positives whatever you are screening. Okay, so 3D and 4D Dopplers, power Dopplers, color Dopplers definitely will add value to your screening, and definitely it will be advantageous in the women having dense breast, and of course with the women who are high risk for breast cancer. MRI, as I have already told you, that only when the sonography as well as mammography both are inconclusive or suspicious, then comes the role of MRI. For an average risk woman and for high risk women, we have to do it annually. I've already talked to you about 30 years onwards, or maybe if you have a relative who is had breast cancer, at least 5 years earlier to the age of detection. PET-CT, the sensitivity is very high. It gives you good image, good contrast function, as well as, but it uses ionizing radiation. That is what, some of the advantages and disadvantages. I have talked to you about ultrasonography, but we are using this mainly for the younger age group women, because and it definitely has its own advantages, can differentiate the morphology, the cystic and solid lesions, and also, breast who are women who are having dense breast. That is, you have to prefer ultrasound. The ultrasound also helps you in guided biopsy. That is one more advantage for this. I have talked to you about the various ultrasound, which are the advancement in the ultrasound techniques, and MRI also I have talked to you about. This I have already covered in the table, so I don't want to repeat all this. I come straightway to the genetic testing or genetic screening, which is the third part of my screening part of breast cancer. So breast cancer in women of age group less than 50 years, those are the candidates. Breast cancer in 60 years, less than 60 years, is one of the relatives having either CA colon, CA pancreas, or male relative having breast cancer. And of course, a woman who is more than 60 years having a triple negative breast cancer. So these are the women who actually, require genetic testing. And of course, all of you, I'm not going to go into the details of BRCA1 and BRCA2 because this is just, the use of screening tools. So I would just suggest that these are the conditions, especially when you have family history of breast cancer, it's always advisable to go for BRCA testing. So, friends, as gynecologists, what is our role? I have been talking to you that we are the saviors and we are the preventive oncologists. We have lots and lots of things to be done because we do have modifiable risk factors here, which we can work on. We do have screening tools, which we can judiciously use. And of course, for this, we can advise our patient to have healthy food, to live healthy, with active physical lifestyle she should have. She should minimize or maybe not to have alcohol and smoking. She has to, whenever a woman comes to your OPD, in addition to obstetric and gynec history, we have to elicit the medical history as well as any history of any malignancy for that matter. And we have to make her, screen her as high risk. We have to tell her that all this history has to be, revealed to your doctor wherever you go. And if depending upon her risk pattern, we have to give her the details of the screening modalities, how she should go for self-breast examination, clinical breast examination, how she should go for mammography, which we have already discussed. So as gynecologists, are we really vigilant enough to, protect our women? Are the government strategies, working for this? At present, I would say that there are no organized screening strategies for breast cancer. Though all of you know that maybe through FOGSI over last few years, we have been all the time talking about, we are working at 3 levels. We are sensitizing our own gynecologists, saying that breast is our domain and we have to tackle all these issues. And for this, we are organizing these CMEs. We are coming out with updates and ready reckoners. We have been teaching them, training the paramedics also. And we have been organizing various mass screening programs and awareness talks and informative articles and so many other things for the general public. So I think at all 3 levels we are working, but definitely as a I would say, responsible citizen of India, we can definitely work at our individual level. So friends, Every woman who comes to your clinic for whatever problems, please do utilize this window of opportunity. Ask her all this history. You do her clinical examination. If you find anything abnormal, please do subject her to the necessary investigation. And if at all you can diagnose some form of malignancy, please do refer her effectively and at the earliest to the appropriate management. If you don't find anything abnormal, please teach her self-breast examination and guide her that if at all she finds any abnormality, she should report to her doctor and get investigated. And of course, if diagnosed early, it's not only we can save the life of the woman, but nowadays, as all of you know, that we can save her breast and the quality of life also. So with this, I thank all of you for listening patiently, and I hope I have done justice to this topic. I thank Madam Usha Saraiya for all her blessings, all the years, I would say, and guiding us throughout our career, whatever ways she can. Once again, I thank all of you, and I humbly seek your blessings and your wholehearted support for my candidature as FOGSI Vice President for the upcoming elections in 24. The elections are in August, and definitely I would seek all of your wholehearted support and vote for me. Thank you so much, Chairperson, and the topic is open for discussion. You can, I'm here to answer your queries. Thank you so much, Nirja Madam, for accepting my invitation and also being present throughout the program. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sneha, for this wonderful and lucid description of judicious use of screening tools in early detection of breast cancer. I thank the organizers for inviting us to chair this academic feast, which we were enjoying throughout on this month of February, that is a Cancer Month. And appropriately, you have chosen the title that Save Our Women. Yes, the women are the foundations, the backbone of our society, and we have to care for this woman and save the woman. If you save one woman, we save a family. That is what we say. So, Sneha, you have appropriately, you have very nicely, you have elaborated all the aspects of screening tools, right from the breast self-examination, clinical breast examination. You have elaborated on the mammography and all the imaging tools. I will not go in detail of it. You have so nicely explained all the self-breast examination also and clinical breast examination also. But as a gynecologist, we have a very big role. So it's very important to start from the history whenever the patient comes to us. We have to take a detailed history that you have sent. I do agree with you. But many times what we do while examining, we leave the breast. We don't think that is our domain. And every time we have to see whole gynec examination. With that, we have to do the breast examination also and ask the history also. History is very important in this case. And teaching our girls the self-breast examination is right from the year 20 years, because as in India, we are now seeing the rising cases of breast cancer. Few months back, I had a 36-year-old woman and a 28-year-old female also, who both were unmarried, who had come to me for counseling and where to refer. So this is the scenario in India. Other things that we as a gynecologist have to be vigilant and refer the patients when and at appropriate centers. We should always, secondly, awareness is very important, that you have elaborated. Is awareness is a goal, it's a very laudable goal, but what I think, when I have to teach the self-breast examination to women, and when they come back, when I ask them, did you teach the self-breast examination this month or whenever she can? Yes, while taking bath, I touch my breast, and that is what self-breast examination is. But we have to teach them very appropriately, and repeatedly we have to tell them. It is not only once, we have to tell them. And in awareness programs, we do teach them self-breast examination, but we have to make them to do it also. That is also. But there are many hindrances also because in a lower incomes, middle class countries, they don't have a privacy also. So they hesitate to do self-breast examination. Maybe the lack of time also is there. So we have to overcome all these factors, and we have to make them aware about the breast cancer and self-breast examination. You have said that clinical breast examination should be done annually. So my point is that whether if it is do biannually, so will it be beneficial to the woman?
For average risk women, we are recommending the clinical breast examination every 3 yearly if it is normal. That is for 30 years onwards. 40 years onwards, yes, annually. But if at all you, and that we are talking about clinical breast examination. What I was talking about every 3 yearly is the mammography. At the age of 40 years, you offer her baseline mammography, you find everything is normal. And if she is an average risk woman, then we can subject her to mammography every 3 yearly. That is what we are talking about the low income countries like India. Though the recommendation is annual mammography by American Cancer Society. Right?
Yes, that's a very good point here. But now to conclude, I would say that you had talked about mammography imaging tools very in detail. So raising a breast awareness is a laudable goal. It should be aggressively pursued, what I think, by advocacy groups at health and mainly in the healthcare systems in the low middle income countries. That's what self-breast examination, clinical breast examination, and mammography are the gold standard tools in early detection of breast cancer.
Yes.
Rujita, anything you want to ask?
Yeah, congratulations, Neha madam. It was a very nice presentation, very lucid presentation. We were so involved in your presentation that we didn't notice that there was one technical problem in your presentation. And Alka madam has rightly actually summarized all your presentation. It was very practical, and most importantly, you pointed out all the advantages and the short pitfalls of these investigations. Not every investigations we have a number of things available with us, but we should use that judiciously. Not what actually we know that the MRI is better, right? It predicts better, it gives better results, but then not each and every patient is we are suggesting MRI for that patient. So you rightly pointed out all the advantages and what modality to be used when. So I really like that about your presentation. So
thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Alka. And that's the very reason I have, as a committee chairperson, I have urged after every CME, this was the message that we request all the FOGSians, gynecologists to examine the breast of each and every woman. I mean, I know that we can understand busy OPDs, you don't get time, but you should spare some time because it's a question of a life. And of course, it's our commitment too. I would like to request Madam Usha Saraiya and Madam Nirja Batla also.
One thing I want to
Neha, it was very nice. Neha, it was very nice.
Thank you, dear. Thank you.
Patient with the 36 years, which I was, who came to me last month, few months back. We had we take camps on cervical cancer and breast cancer, and my team went to a home thrice in that area. And distributed the pamphlets, but she never turned up.
I think Dr. Alka, Madam Usha Saraiya will make few comments also. So we request her.
Yes, your talk was, can you hear me?
Yes, madam.
Yes, madam. Yes, madam.
Your talk was quite exhaustive. You've covered almost everything, but people are not so willing to do mammography every 3 years. They say, oh, it causes radiation and things like that. So you can give them the option even of 5 years if everything is all right. But in between, they should have at least a physician to examine the breast. And the other thing is when the male gynecologists or the male surgeons also examine the breasts, they've been advised to have a nurse or somebody
or a female attendant, right?
But there is sometimes some misunderstanding, and some patients are not willing to have it done. So I think that option of getting checked by a nurse also should be given by them.
Yes,
Because
yes.
the nurses we have trained, they are very good at examining the patient's breasts. So if they don't want to be examined by the surgeon, then you can always say that get it done by the nurse in attendance or maybe some other day. So they should not go away thinking they are in any way, sort of upset by the whole procedure. And in India, we have had a 40% increase, but it's all more or less in the urban areas.
Yes.
There is somehow this difference between rural and urban, and rural cervical cancer is more, and here it is the breast cancer. So there must be some other factors which we have not yet found out. And maybe we should have some surveys to see what are the factors affecting our women. We know the data from abroad is there, but let us have some studies for our own. I think the Indian Cancer Society has done, and Tata Memorial has done.
Even as a committee, we have done one survey. So in majority of the urban places, having one or two child or no child, that was one major issue. Having a child after 30 years of age, late childbearing, and no, working women not breastfeeding, that was also a very close association. Extensively it was associated. And Madam, as you have rightly pointed out, I told you that we have been working, as a 3-tier system, and we are training the paramedics for the primary health center. Whenever we are organizing some mass screening programs, we are taking some of the vans, and we are doing the evaluation there and there, but we are training the paramedics simultaneously for the clinical breast examination also. So I think it should help in long way. Let us see.
That will certainly have a good impact, and I think paramedics are very, very motivated also. They like to do something more positive than just around the doctors.
I don't know whether if you remember, I think Neja Madam also will remember 2019 to 20, when Dr. Nandita was a FOGSI president. I have organized, all of these people will remember, I have organized the it was a comprehensive healthcare camp for the entire district, and I have organized this camp in the medical college of Yavatmal Government Medical College. 2,500 ASHA workers were screened, and they were screened and trained for evaluation of this. So, dual purpose. It was a month-long project. Almost, it was very effective. 250 women had high-risk cervical lesions, and 25 women were having some sort of breast problems, and the surgery department got them operated. 5 early breast cancer were detected and managed. So that is what the data I had submitted to FOGSI also. So, Madam Nirja Batla, please, a few words from you.
Sneha,
please unmute. Yeah.
Sneha, there is one question. What is the role of BRCA mutation testing in our practice? Whom should we offer?
That is what I have been talking about. The genetic screening, I have given 3-4 criteria. If you have a family history of breast cancer, that is one. Women who are having breast cancer at an early age, less than 50 years. Those who are having breast cancer less than 60 years of age, but triple negative. So and also woman who has breast cancer and whose close relative has either CA breast, CA colon, CA pancreas, or a male relative having breast cancer. Okay. Over to you,
and
Madam.
I can add one more in that, Sneha, that all the patients now with high-grade ovarian cancer, they should also be recommended to get the BRCA testing done. They are also very high risk. I loved the talk. It was very useful, very informative, and you have covered so much in that. I think it's true. We need to see the recording again once more to get all the points. But I want to say one thing about this. Madam was talking about the paramedical screening. One very interesting development in Delhi recently. The National Association of Blind is training the blind girls to do the clinical breast examination. And it's working out well, their experiment initially. And they are an excellent group because their sensory, this thing is much heightened.
Yes, tactile sensations are very...
Yes, yes. So that's one very positive development recently I came to know.
And they will have added sort of incentive in life that they are doing something useful. And I think acceptance by society also will be very good if they know that, blind people can do so much. I think it's a very good, we should spread that message, then do something more like that.
Yes, madam.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Madam.
Thank you.
Madam Usha Saraiya, Madam Nirja Bhatla. And thank you so much, Dr. Sarita, and all the best wishes to you as well for your elections for FOGSI Chairperson Gynae Oncology Committee.
All the best to you also.
Thank you so much, dear. Thank you.
We are with you.
All the delegates who are logged in, that we have our own Dr. Sneha Bhuyer and Dr. Sarita. So please support. We have seen the mammoth work they have done. We have seen Dr. Sneha doing work for breast committee. Still the work speaks. It's still going on, Dr. Sneha. What we have, you have sown, the seeds are still going on. So we wish you all the best and request all to support her and give a word for her. Thank you all for joining for today's program.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Mugdha.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.